Hey guys, this is Samuel from ThankUCash. This is an instructional video on how merchants can access and use the ThankUCash dashboard to track all transactions and sales at different store locations nationwide. We're going to start by putting in the website, which is www.merchant.thankucash.com/account/login. Once you do that, it's going to take you straight to the login page where you put in your username and your password. Your username and password would already have been previously provided to you. Once you just input your username and password, it logs you into the dashboard. Once you get on the dashboard, it basically gives you an overview of everything you can do or everything you can see on the merchant end of the ThankUCash platform. This platform refreshes every 60 seconds. That's every 1 minute it refreshes, so it can give you live data, live information from every single store you have nationwide or statewide, whatever it is. It also lets you track the total number of sales in a day. First part of the dashboard, which is the overview, allows you to see the total number of sales you have made in that day. It allows you to see the number of customer visits from all your store locations nationwide or every single place you have a store. It also allows you to track the total number of new customers that have registered or have used ThankUCash at all your locations. Terminal activity or terminal status. This simply informs you of the POS terminals that are at each location for you to know which of them are active, which of them are idle, which of them are dead, and which of them are unused. The active ones are those that people are actually using, that are working and transactions are going through. The idle ones are the ones that have not been used in a while. The dead ones are the ones that have not been used in even longer. Then we have the unused ones that have never actually been active. There is a graph that shows you the number of customers that visit your store on hourly basis. That's between 7 to 8, 8 to 9, 9 to 10. For the entire 24 hours, you have live feed, or you have a live feed of all your customers that come in to visit your stores. But there's another graph. It shows you which store is the most active one. That's which of your stores nationwide, for those of the merchants that have more than one store, made the most number of sales. On the right hand part of the screen, there is a graph that shows you the total amount of rewards that have been redeemed in a day, as well as the total amount of points that have been rewarded to customers. Now, this graph is accurate and gives you this information at every given point of the day on your recent sales. You also have access to recent sales at each store. This is also on the overview screen, where you can see the recent sales at any of your stores nationwide. Also, for the top spenders, you can also have access to which customer has spent the most amount of money at any of your stores in a day. You can also see which transactions were cash transactions and which transactions were card transactions, and the volume of each transaction. There's a graph that shows you which transactions were more. If cash transactions were more than card transactions, it will show you. If card transactions were more than cash transactions, it will also show you. You also have access to see all the banks whose POS terminals are being used at all your locations. For example, if you have GTB, First Bank, and Access Bank POS terminals at all your locations, it shows you each and every bank, and it also shows you the amount that each POS terminal has made. On the left hand side of the screen, there's a breakdown of the menu on that side. Now, we're first of all going to talk about the rewards. Under rewards, make sure you select today, because if you don't select today, it will show you the transactions for the last 7 days. So in order to see the transaction for a particular day, you have to select today, so it shows you the number of transactions for that particular day. This will show you all the customer visits as well as loyalty, the amount of points that have been rewarded that day, and the amount of points that have been redeemed that day, as well as the percentage of such rewards. So this information is also coming to you live when you check that part of the merchant dashboard. When you click on sales, under sales, make sure you also click today, otherwise it will show you the number of sales for the entire week. The part where you can click on sales is located at the top of the screen, toward the top of the screen, you see where there is today, and you can click on today for that particular day's sale. When you click on it, it shows you the amount of sales that have been done in that day across all your outlets nationwide. It also shows you the terminals and the banks that have been used to pay for each transaction. It gives you information on whether the transaction was card or a cash transaction. It gives you information whether it was successful or unsuccessful. So as you can see, the terminal, the entire platform is actually very detailed and gives you up-to-date information about everything you need to know. Next up, we click on stores. Now, the store part of it will show you every store location nationwide where all your stores are. If you click on terminals, it shows you all the POS terminals, their IDs, and the last transaction that was done on each terminal, as well as the bank that is attached to that terminal. One of the most important parts is the customer part. When you click on customers, it shows you the list of customers that have come in to make transactions at each of your stores, either using cash or using the POS, that's their card. It gives you a list of their phone numbers because they would have put in their phone numbers to either receive or redeem their points. It shows you the amount of each transaction or amount of each reward. It also shows you if they've redeemed their points or not, and if the transaction failed or was successful. Rewards. Under the rewards, it shows you the customer as well as the amount of their rewards and the type of transaction they did, if it was cash or card, if the transaction was successful or unsuccessful. And for a successful transaction, it also shows you the amount that they were rewarded for their transaction. So for instance, someone does a transaction of 1,000 and was rewarded 10% of that transaction, which is 100 naira. It will show you the amount of the transaction as 1,000 and the amount of the reward as 100 points. After rewards, we have redeemed. Under redeemed, it shows you the customer and the amount of their redeemed rewards and what terminal they also redeemed their rewards. So when you get here, it will show you each customer that has made a transaction and how much of their rewards they have actually redeemed. If they had 100 points and they redeemed 50 points, it will let you know, and it will also show you what terminal they redeemed their points. We also have a daily sales tab. Now the daily sales tab simply shows you how much you have made in a day and if the transactions were either cash transactions or card transactions. This also allows you to track your growth and depreciation for all the transactions as well as the visits and value. It shows you the amount you made the previous day and the amount you've made today. Then it shows you if you made more sales today than the previous day, or if the number of sales you made the previous day are more than the current day. It shows you the difference so you know what is lacking and what is not, so you can track if your business is growing or not. Next up, we have bank collection. Now the bank collection tab simply shows you the amount of the transaction, that's the amount the bank is supposed to send to you. It shows you the bank charge and the amount that is expected to get to you. Now, the amount of the transaction is, for instance, 1,000 naira. It shows you the bank charge. Maybe the bank is charging 50 naira of that transaction. Then it shows you the amount expected into your account, which is the amount that the bank is supposed to pay you, which would be 950 naira. So that's what I mean by the amount of the transaction, the bank charge, as well as the amount that is expected to come into your account. If the received amount and the amount you're actually expecting do not tally, you update it by clicking on received, then you put the amount that you actually received into the tab that appears. When you do that, if the amount that you get into your account is not up to the amount that the bank is supposed to pay you, it will calculate it and show you the percentage or the amount by which it is short. Meaning, it will show you the difference between the amount the bank is supposed to send to you and the amount that actually enters your account, so the bank can fix it or reconcile their accounts. But the final thing we need to know is the settings. Now the settings is something that will be very useful to merchants because it includes the cashier code part of the software. Now when you go on settings, once you click on settings, merchants can now set cashier codes for each cashier at every POS terminal of every store nationwide. All they have to do is click on cashier code. Now when you click on the cashier code, it automatically generates a code for your cashier, sort of like a staff number. It generates a code for your cashier, and then once you click on add, you would input the it will generate the ID. You input the staff or the cashier's phone number as well as the cashier's name. Then you click on active. Once you click on active and you click on save, that particular cashier, no matter the store the cashier is in, would have that particular code. So you can track every single transaction that cashier does on any single POS anywhere in all your outlets. So yes, that's basically an overview of everything that ThankUCash, the ThankUCash dashboard has to offer. I hope you find this video very useful, and if you have any questions, you can always send them to us. We'll be ready and willing to answer all questions that you have. Bye guys.